Hello, hello, welcome back. So, I have been learning how to write Chinese calligraphy for the past 2 weeks because, your girl has her reasons that you will see after the Greek mythology series is over. And it has been over 2 weeks since I've started, and as of now, I've just learned how to hold the brush right. Barely. Honestly, never accuse me of being talented ever again, and never bet on me to win an art competition. You will lose. So here I am, just sad and drinking my boba tea that I got myself. Um, this time it's a matcha fresh milk tea with lychee jelly and aloe jelly. I'm gonna need more recommendations on the combinations one of these days, to be honest, but I think I'm gonna rate this a 5.34 out of 10. I don't know if it's the combination of the matcha and the lychee, but it's just not hitting right. Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, today we're going to talk about Hades and Persephone. So sit down, grab a snack, and let me tell you the story of Hades and Persephone. Persephone, she is the daughter of Demeter. Demeter being the goddess of harvest, agriculture. She looks over the crops, grains, and makes sure that the land is fertile, all that fun stuff. She is also the daughter of Rhea and Kronos, their second daughter, who also happens to be the sister of Hades and Poseidon and Zeus. A little family tree there for you, which might be important to note because Demeter, in her union with Zeus, she becomes the mother of Persephone. In the beginning, Persephone is the Greek goddess who is associated with, along with her mother, of course, she is associated with vegetation and grain. So, getting to the story, one day, Persephone is out and about. She's picking flowers in her garden, and while she's picking flowers, Hades, the god of the underworld, he comes out of the underworld and he sees her for the first time, and he is smitten. He falls in love with her at first sight. Never mind the fact that Persephone is technically his niece, but this is Greek mythology, so we don't really talk about that. So let's just gloss over it and get back to the story. Hades falls head over heels for Persephone and he goes to Zeus to make a plan, which, side note, when you know your brother is terrible with women, why would you go to him for advice? Zeus? Honestly, Zeus. Anyway, Hades goes to Zeus for advice, and Zeus's brilliant plan was to kidnap Persephone, but Hades, with his rose-tinted glasses and love-struck brain, he agrees to the plan. So one day, when Persephone was in the meadows with some of her Oceanid friends, and in the middle of the meadows, he finds this crack in the ground. So she goes near it to investigate. But the moment Persephone comes close, Hades comes up from the crack and he kidnaps Persephone, takes her back with him to the underworld. When Demeter comes back, she only sees the Oceanids that Persephone was hanging out with. She does not see her daughter, Persephone, anywhere. And she is angry, completely furious. In her anger, because the Oceanids failed to protect her daughter, it is said that Demeter punishes the Oceanids by transforming them into sirens. But they still plead with Demeter to help search for Persephone, so Demeter gives them wings to help aid in the search for the missing goddess. Demeter is still devastated. She searches far and wide on every corner of the earth to find her daughter, but Persephone is nowhere to be found. And the more Demeter fails to find her daughter, the more devastated she becomes. And the more devastated she becomes, the more she neglects the people and her duties. Without her blessings, though, the crops stop growing. Plants wither. Basically, the earth plunges into a worldwide drought. People and animals, they suffer without the food. And seeing Demeter that desperate, some of the other gods and goddesses help her out. One of them, Hecate, she's the goddess of magic. She hears that Persephone is missing and that Demeter is searching for her, so she helps Demeter by using her torches to light the way. Another god, Helios, he's the sun god. He saw Hades abducting Persephone. When he comes to know that Demeter is searching for her, Helios tells Demeter that Persephone has been kidnapped by Hades. But the thing is, she also comes to know that Hades did so under Zeus's suggestion, and now she's even more furious. She storms over to Mount Olympus and she rages at Zeus, basically cursing him out because, that's what you do to your younger brother when they're acting crazy. I mean, Hades is also her younger brother, but we're not going to talk about that right now. The family tree is a circle. So Demeter storms to Mount Olympus. She curses at Zeus, and Zeus, he sees how devastated Demeter was at Persephone's abduction and realizes, well, that wasn't exactly a good idea to begin with. He tries to reason with Demeter, but Demeter holds a very, very, very important bargaining chip right now. She tells Zeus, if you do not give me back my daughter, I am not going to let the crops grow and everyone on Earth will die. How about that? So Zeus calls Hermes over and he tells Hermes, I've got a mission for you because you see, I'm kind of worried what Demeter might do if we don't do this. Basically, go down into the underworld, go to Hades, bring Persephone back. And Zeus explains to Demeter that so long as Persephone has not tasted the food of the underworld, she would be allowed back into the land of the living. If not, she would have to stay down in the underworld with Hades. Hermes agrees and he goes down into the underworld. He visits Hades and tells him of Zeus's command to bring Persephone back. Hades is sad, but he agrees. He goes to Persephone and he tells her that he's going to let her go. But before she goes, he gives her some pomegranate seeds because, one might get hungry on the journey back to the living. Persephone eats the pomegranate seeds, but because she has tasted the food from the underworld, it is said that she is obliged to spend a third of the year in the underworld. In later iterations of the story, the time spent by Persephone in the underworld was increased from 3 months to 6 months. Persephone is eventually returned back to her mother Demeter with the help of Hermes, and it is said that that time when Persephone is with Demeter, that's when spring and summer seasons happen, because that's when Demeter is happy to be back with her daughter. But the other half of the year, when Persephone has to go back into the underworld with Hades, that's when it's dark and desolate because Demeter is too sad to let her daughter go, and because of her sadness, the crops don't grow as much. As an aside, it was said that after Hades marries Persephone and Persephone becomes the queen of the underworld, Hades was one of the few Olympian gods that remained faithful to their wife. So there's that. But other than that, this story is often told as a way to explain the changing of the seasons. Now, because Persephone is so integral to Demeter's happiness, which in turn is also the reason for spring and all the crops and plants to grow well, Persephone is also associated with spring. When she is with her mother, Persephone is seen as a maiden goddess, the symbol of rebirth and spring. But when she is with Hades, she is seen as the queen of the underworld. So even though the story of Hades and Persephone had a troubled beginning, many of the retellings these days depict Persephone as being a bit reluctant in the beginning when she is kidnapped. But then as Hades begins to treat her better and with respect, she starts to fall for him. And this trope has been used quite a bit in the romantasy and dark romance genres. So, moral of the story, does this story even have a moral? I don't know. Anyway, that's all for today. Until next time, stay safe, sweet dreams, good night.